11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. What a fight! I think Ferrari won it.
Juan, the Hispanic causing panic, Lascano.
Thanks to those joining me live, those that be joining me on the archive, the style. Here, if you listen to the archive, hit the like button, leave a comment, tell me what you think. Hit that bell button that way you're notified every time D-Style Boxing comes on live. Man. All right? Because we know, I'll tell you right now, this is what we know. That's not it. That's not the one, right? This is the one. D-Style Boxing here. I hope everyone is doing great. So we got some stuff to talk about here. Tszyu versus Spence, official according to reports. And apparently Glen Jennings of Fight Life Management, who I have had a lot of times here on this channel, is now suing Tszyu. My God, have times changed, right? Like, I mean, it is what it is. So I have some thoughts. I'm probably not going to go as deep as people probably want me to, but nonetheless, I'm going to give you some thoughts. And but let's start with a happy mood first. You know, let's start with that.
Feliz
Never
Feliz
Never
Feliz
Never
Prospero año y felicidad.
And I'll update the title once this goes live, but I want to start off with Tszyu Opetia. I don't think I've talked about Tszyu since his fight has been made official, quite frankly. And I think it's important to talk about Tszyu Opetia. Look, Tszyu Opetia, all right, is, as being reported here by CBS Sports, next fight, he'll be making his ZUFFA promotional debut against Brandon Glatton. All right, it's a cruiserweight fight. It's kind of like I don't want to really call it a tune-up because I don't think you should be considering him a tune-up, but for Tszyu it is, right? I think Tszyu will make easy work of the dude, and that's because I think Tszyu is that good. Okay. People asking where Calix is. Calix is busy, brother. I don't know what to say. All right. Calix will be back when Calix is back. That's all I could say for now, guys. He's doing his thing. You know what I mean? Hopefully in a couple weeks we'll be up and rolling again. With that said, but let's keep it rolling, guys. But shout out to Wheelchair Man John. Okay. Look. This will be the fourth installment of ZUFFA Boxing. I have another one coming up with the heavyweights, Efe Jaba against Martin. So I think that should be a decent fight, a decent scrap, a good heavyweight scrap on for free on Paramount. They're giving us more boxing, and I can't complain about that. Tszyu Opetia obviously will still be part of the ring, the cards and all that. He still has the backing of Turk Al-Sheikh. So not only are we going to get him on Paramount and ZUFFA to keep him busy, which is something that I think Tszyu really needs, a promoter that will keep him busy, keep him active. I think that's very important for Tszyu Opetia. But I think it's equally as important to keep him within Riyadh season, because that's where the big money is at the moment. And Turkey still has his backing. Like that's the dude forking up the big money for Jai for his big fights. And that's going to keep Jai available to be unifying the belts, despite of whatever Mauricio Suleiman has to say or whatever any of these jokers got to say. By the way, we'll be playing some Mauricio Suleiman bullshit right now. Chris Mannix interviewed him. I have some thoughts about that. I'll probably do a deeper dive tomorrow, but we'll touch on it a little bit towards the end of this video if you want to stick around for that. And I agree with Chairman John. A lot of people are hating on ZUFFA boxing, but I just don't see what they're doing wrong right now. I just don't. They're giving us fights. It's more fights. A lot of these promotional outfits don't have any deals. They do, and they're giving us some fights, and they've been good fights. So I'm not going to be one of those dudes that just complains just to complain. I'm just not going to be that dude. All right. I'm going to remove this from X. By the way, people want to tune in, they could come here. So it is what it is. So maybe in time we'll turn my John, but we'll see. It's one event at a time. I think starting with Jai in this event is a good start for them, and I think they'll be doing collaborations starting with Jai along with Riyadh Season and Ring, and there you go. So this is better than Jai being on an app that nobody knows about, by the way. Right? This is better than burying Jai and us having no visibility on him. Now he will be on a huge platform, and you know, millions of people will be watching him in the United States and around the world, right? And this is going to give him a lot of exposure. So there's nothing, in my opinion, negative about this whatsoever. And I think Jai's going to have a spectacular performance. He'll probably going to have a big, emphatic knockout, and millions are going to watch. I think that's a big deal for Jai Opetia. This is more than, and there's no offense to them. I think they're good promoters and all, but Tasman fighters cannot do this for him. Right? Matchroom just obviously has not had the ability to do this for him. Right? Eddie Hearn's out here complaining that he lost money with Jai. So that's his idea of promotion. But here he's going to have a home. He's going to have consistency. He's going to have guaranteed fights. He's going to stay busy. That'll help him stay sharp. And then in between all that, he'll be getting big fights with the backing of all the millions from the ring. So I think that's a big deal. And I cannot help but feel happy for Jai Opetia right now. And by the way, all the dudes all over Twitter and all that, all the dudes complaining, all the dudes virtual signaling, and I can't believe Jai's fighting for them. They're going to rip him off. Doesn't even know any better. These people were nowhere to be found. Nowhere when Jai Opetia was fighting for free. They were nowhere to be found when Jai Opetia fought his first 17 fights without a paycheck. Nowhere to be found when Jai Opetia couldn't score a fight with any of these big names. You have Benavidez saying, I'd rather fight Zurdo because he's the bigger fight, and Zurdo saying he doesn't know who he is, and all this avoiding the Jai Opetia, right? The dude's avoided. He went over a dozen fights without getting paid. He's getting buried by the boxing industry. His last fight, Matchroom didn't pick it up. He's on an unknown app. They're burying the dude. I mean, what do you expect him to do? How is that better than what he has now? How is that better? Jai Opetia is going to stay busy. He's going to be active, right? And in between all that, he'll still be part of Riyadh Season. What a sweet deal for Jai. If you're a fan of Jai Opetia, you should be to the moon. So I think it was music to my ears when Dana said, yeah, he's going to be able to, unify belts. That's great. I don't give a shit if he went back on his word or whatever, because I want the best for Jai Opetia, because the best for Jai Opetia is what's best for me as a boxing fan, right? That's what I want. And if somehow Zurdo will get past David Benavidez, if you want the big bucks, buddy, you're going to have to fight Jai Opetia. That's what you're going to have to do. Anyone else, if Mauricio Suleiman wants big bucks with a sanctioning fee, he better shut the fuck up and collect the sanctioning fee on a sanctioned fight that Jai Opetia is part of. That's what he's going to have to do. Okay, at the end of the day, right? With that said, that's all I got to say about the whole Jai Opetia situation, and that's that. Okay, that's all I got to say about that. Where should I start? let's start with this. All right, we're gonna start with this, and this. I mean, obviously, look. All right. There is for those that don't know, Tszyu switched management teams not long ago. All right. And it was, what was it, like September-ish, something like that. And it was kind of out of nowhere. He kind of hinted to it. And I knew something was up when he kind of shouted out his trainer and other members of his team, but like he didn't say anything about Glen Jennings, right? Like I just knew something was up with that. Like I figured that, you know, there's something like really personal, or there's some very intricate things in the contract that maybe there's a dispute on that's beyond boxing, right? Like it's just how it felt. And like I kind of knew, because it's going to be ugly. Right. And I was kind of waiting for a tidal wave, and I don't know who was tuning in, but I interviewed Shannon O'Connor not that long ago, and she mentioned her and Glenn split, right? In my opinion, probably totally unrelated to this, but it's like another fighter, right? And she kind of hinted that her son Cooper is like no longer with Glenn either, right? So like a lot of this happened like around the same time. And I'm kind of just looking at the situation from the outside looking in, right? And I'm like, man, I feel like Fight Life Management is just taking a bit of a hit here. Most importantly with Tim, the biggest name of Fight Life Management, right? This is why Glen Jennings, you know, started going hard in management and even sold a security company and everything to start up Fight Life Management. But it started at Team Tszyu too, like, you know, promoting Tim Tszyu. And in my opinion, they had a lot of success together, right? They had a lot of success. They went places, right? Like Tim Tszyu, now obviously he's the son of Kasha Tszyu. Glenn had a history of working with Kasha Tszyu as it was like a security advisor or something like that, but he worked with that team a lot. And you know, they connected, and I think it was Tim Tszyu's mom, if I remember correctly, that you know, advised him to go with Glenn. And you know, I think they had a phenomenal run. They worked with a lot of different promoters, and before I even knew who Glenn was, I was following Tim Tszyu from afar. As anyone who's been subscribed to me for a while, I was following him from afar, just you know, as a fan of the Tszyu last name because of his father. I was a big Kasha Tszyu fan, right? I remember the rat tail. I remember the knockout of, well, first of all, I remember him beating up That's when I first found out about Kasha Tszyu. He beat up Chavez, right? I was like, I don't know who the Australian dude is, but Chavez going to give him that work. And then he gave Chavez the work and stopped him and all that. And I'm like, holy shit, right? Now, I don't care what anybody says. Now, was that a prime Chavez? No, but he was still a top 5 in that division. He was still a really good fighter. Only had, like, I think 1 or 2 losses at that point. But nonetheless, it was a great win for Kasha Tszyu. And I still remember, give me a second, guys. I got to shut the shit off. Give me a second. All right, give me a moment. I'm back, guys. And also, and yes, Chavez Sr., right? I wasn't impressed somebody stopped Chavez Jr. Like, yes, it was Chavez Sr. Nonetheless, that was my introduction to Kasha Tszyu, right? That fight was I believe in Phoenix, right? And Kasha, I mean, he went in a hell of a run here in the United States. He was fighting under Showtime. He went through a run, right? And then there was that big knockout of Zab Judah, right? Zab Judah was a huge favorite. They were calling him Sweet Pea with a punch. I mean, he had the hype behind up, and people, like, it's easy to forget how good prime Zab Judah was, a young Zab Judah. Like, people thought this guy was going to go places. Now, Zab Judah had a pretty good career, but people really thought he was going to be the next big thing. Like, I think there was more hype behind him at times than like Floyd had felt. But nonetheless, he gets that big knockout, et cetera, et cetera. So we know the history, right? All the way to the Haddon fight. With that said, so I had been following from afar. I've been following the career of Tim Tszyu. I got the opportunity, and shout out to the Boxing Voice and Nestor Gibbs and all them. Look, Nestor Gibbs is that dude. I know a lot of people don't like him or whatever. Some people do like him, right? He's very polarizing in the boxing space. But this is what I'll say about Nestor Gibbs, just as a side note. Anytime he's invited me on the Boxing Voice, anytime, right? He may have disagreed with me, callers may have yelled at me, whatever the case is, but he always let me say my piece. He gave me a platform to express my opinions. He didn't censor me. He didn't shut me down. He let me, like, and I can only respect that. So, anyone who talks shit about Nestor Gibbs, I never return it in return. There may be some dumb takes he has, but that's what I mean. Like, he lets me tell him he has dumb takes sometimes, but it is what it is. You know, I just disagree with some of his takes sometimes. But he gave me the opportunity to, a couple years ago, to interview a young Tim Tszyu, and I got to ask him some questions, and I appreciated that, right? So I've been following the career of Tim Tszyu like for years, when he fought Jeff Horn, I just been following it, and then the whole No Limit run. So I thought, look, in my opinion, Tim Tszyu's career was managed great. Like I just got to be honest. I cannot speak to what's in the contract because I don't know. I cannot speak to what the dispute is right now because I don't know, right? If you want to say that maybe it was time to move on, I get it. But I'm just talking about the way it was brought up, the way they build him up with Glen Jennings as his manager and No Limit as his promoter. I thought, and even the guys that worked with Tim before No Limit came along, I think everyone surrounding that did a great fight. Did a great job. I'm sorry. That this dude fighting in stadiums before, when he was like far away from a world title. You know what I mean? So, in my opinion, I thought that they did a great job. All the way to, like, he was going to get an undisputed title shot. It's not their fault or Tim's fault that didn't happen, but that is what they orchestrated, right? And they got him everything Tim wanted. He wanted to fight in Vegas. They got him that. He wanted a title shot. He got that. He became a huge superstar in Australia. He became a pay-per-view star there. He wanted to come over here and fight in the U.S. He got there. He got everything he wanted, in my opinion. Maybe not the result, maybe not the whatever you want to call it, but like the opportunities were given to him there, if I'm honest, right? I thought a phenomenal job was done with Tim Tszyu, all right? But my issue is this, right? It's what is really going on here is what I want to know. Because I am hearing from behind the scenes, I'm hearing different things. All right. And a lot of it is not like, it's like someone told me that somebody told me type shit. So it's not even like it's not firsthand stuff that's being said. All right. It's not firsthand information. So, and for that reason, I don't even want to like speculate too much on a lot of that stuff. All right. I connected with Glen Jennings because he reached out to me. It was via Instagram, Instant Messenger, right? And it was because of the work I was doing with interviews and exposure of Shannon O'Connell. And he, he just wanted to reach out and let me know that he appreciates it all, etc. Introduce himself as the manager. Then he said, I'm also the manager of Tim Tszyu. If you ever want to have me on, I said, sure, jump on. And I had him on several times. I have a whole playlist about it. You could check it out. Oh, 9. Right. with that said, the reason I'm saying that because I like to be transparent, all right? And I just want to let everybody know that there's a background there, all right? Glen Jennings was nice enough to invite Calix and I to Las Vegas. He did it live on a show to show up as guest and of his. And look, I mean, why not? I went over there. I had a blast. Just for the record, I was given access to, to a certain degree. Like I wasn't in the locker room or nothing like that. But I was given tickets to be at the fight. I was supposed to have some backstage, access, but PBC fucked that up. It wasn't Glen nor No Limit or anything like that. That was more of a PBC thing. There was a big misunderstanding with all that, but that's not here nor there, right? We're gonna put that aside. But yes, I was able to go to watch the fight. Did a post fight afterwards. Met a bunch of people out there. I met some Australians that watched the show. Said hi or whatever, and it was great, right? Great experience. But. So full transparency, all right? With that said, I could understand why, like first let's kind of look at the boxing side of it. I personally, this is just me, I never understood the people that criticized Glen Jennings, right, for greenlighting the Fundora fight. Right? I get the premise of what people say, right? Oh, come on, you went from a 5'7" Keith Thurman to a 6'8" or whatever, 6'6", whatever tall he is, right? Fundora. Last minute, it was a dumb move, and I never quite understood any of that. And the reason I never understood that was, one, Tim Tszyu was like a 6-1 favorite. Like the bookies felt he was going to win, right? All the quote unquote experts and the content creators and the media were picking Tim Tszyu to win, myself included, right? Nobody, very few anyway, that none that I remember were saying, oh yeah, Fundora's gonna win, right? Also, it's what Tim Tszyu wanted to do, right? Tim Tszyu wanted to do that at the end of the day. So this is what he wanted. Tim Tszyu's dream was to fight for a world title, or in this case, defend it. He was fighting for the WBC that was vacant, right? That's a whole nother story. But that was always his dream, to fight in Las Vegas. He always talked about that, right? And the promoter of No Limit, Rose, presented it to him, and Tim said yes right away, right? So I just think that all the criticism about taking that fight and making that fight happen is all Monday morning quarterbacking, right? That's just the reality of it. Now, as far as the cut on Tim Tszyu's forehead, where he had a crimson mask and he couldn't see and all that, like I don't want to relive all that. We've been through that a million times, right? But that has nothing to do with the manager. The manager cannot go to the ring. Like, he's not in the corner, right? That had more to do with the corner, right? And Tim Tszyu had the opportunity to get rid of his corner and his cutman and all that. He had the opportunity to do that right after that fight, and he didn't do it, right? So now, if you want to say, well, Glen Jennings should have done it, whatever the case is, that's fair. But as far as what happened, right, you cannot blame that on Glen Jennings. You just can't do it, right? Furthermore, while he messed up by putting him in the ring with Murtazaliev, right? I just don't, that's another criticism I just don't get, right? That's another fight. Murtazaliev didn't look that great in his fight before that. Tim Tszyu, like nobody was saying this was a mistake before the fight. Nobody. It was till after the fight is that they were saying this. The bookies felt Tim Tszyu was going to easily win this fight. All the experts and podcasters and media were picking Tim Tszyu to win the fight. Very few people, none that I remember, were picking Murtazaliev to win. And it was a title shot, and if I'm honest, a title shot that was not warranted. A title shot that was not deserved. Tim Tszyu did not even earn that shot, but it was just given to him. Now, if you're in his manager's shoes, it's almost your job to just go ahead and lock that in for your fighter, right? And it was a title shot for Tim Tszyu. He didn't get the job done. He got destroyed in that fight. We just got to keep it 100, right? That's what happened in that fight. And Tim didn't get rid of him then. He stuck around. And this is why I don't think it has anything to do with any of that. He stuck around and he did the fight with Joey Spencer. Looked like $1 million. From my understanding, and it was obvious, they were trying to work the fight with Tim Tszyu and Keith Thurman. That's why Thurman went to Australia, right, and had a win over there, and he got a big knockout win. They were trying to introduce him to the Australian audience so they could throw him in there with Tim Tszyu, and they could do a big pay-per-view fight over there. Tim Tszyu, after the Joey Spencer fight, it didn't seem like he wanted to do that, right? He was then presented with another title shot, right? And people, Glen, he messed up. He should have put Tim Tszyu in there with him, right? I mean, it was another PBC fight card. It was the same fight card that Manny Pacquiao was in, right? And I mean, people could say what they want, but people were pretty 50-50 about the matchup going in. Now, Tim Tszyu in that fight takes a beating, right? He retires in his stool. I already know what Chicano Prophet's going to say. Go ahead and say it, get out of the way. But you know what I mean, right? And it wasn't even immediately after that, right? Okay, he's 1-3 in the last 4 fights. Stopped in 2 of them, right? And now you have a situation where a couple months later, Tim Tszyu lets go of Glen Jennings. I originally felt this, and maybe part of it is this. I don't know. I'm not a Tim Tszyu set, right? I honestly thought, you know what? Maybe he thought back and thought to himself, I just don't like a lot of the decisions that were made, even if I wanted them. I should have been managed better, and Glen should have told me no in those situations, right? Who knows how that would have gone if Glen would have refused to let him fight Fundora the second time? I don't know. He probably gets rid of him. He probably stays with him. Who knows, right? If he doesn't get him the Murtazaliev fight, does that happen? I don't know, right? I have no idea if that's the case. But maybe Tim Tszyu felt, and that's how I felt at the time, regardless of anything, I just need a change. And sometimes athletes just need to make a change, right? Sometimes you need a change of scenery, a new fresh set of eyes. And whether it's good or bad, whatever the case is, you just need a change. And I'm not saying it's not partially that, but I just feel like there's more going on. This may have added to it, but I just think more is going on here. I just feel like there's something. And the reason I think there's something else to it, let's first read this article. And I'm going to give you some thoughts, okay? Former world champion boxer Tim Tszyu and his one-time manager Glen Jennings are embroiled in a legal battle that appears heading to, is that New South Wales Supreme Court? I believe that's what that means. Cold Sports can reveal the once tight-knit Tim Tszyu title-winning unit is now at loggerheads Jurheads and Jennings hiring a lawyer over breach of contract dispute 5 months after being axed by the boxer. Tszyu dropped a bombshell last September when he severed ties with 5 members of his team, including Glen Jennings, coach, and uncle Igor, Dr. Bill, and cutman Mark, and trainer David Barker. It was one of the most explosive divorces in Australian boxing history. At the time, Jennings spoke of his shock and disappointment at the decision, but indicated he had no intention of pursuing legal action against the boxer, who went from rookie to world champion under his management. But now relations between Tszyu and Jennings have soured. The pair have engaged lawyers after long-serving manager accused the son of an Australian boxing legend Tszyu of illegally breaking their contractual agreements. Sources close to negotiations claim Jennings is seeking at least $1 million in damages from Tszyu. I do want to clarify, from my understanding, Glen Jennings has refuted that it's not as high as $1 million, but I mean, that's what I heard. It is what it is. Jennings scoffed at the 7-figure sum while they're saying it right. I should have just kept reading. But confirmed he is in legal discussions with Tszyu over breach of contract and will take court action if the parties could not find common ground. Interesting. To quote, either we get together and resolve this, or it's going to go in front of a judge to decide. That's what Glen Jennings said. We are looking to come to a resolution and then move on. To this day, I don't have real beef with them. But the way this has been handled has been poor. What he did hurt a lot of people in the process with no thought or aid hand of a half years of service. So Glen Jennings is basically a legend. Look, man, we haven't you can't just walk away, like what are you doing? You can't just do that, right? That's basically his argument here. Jennings claims he has spent the last few months attempting to strike a private settlement with Tszyu, who has attempted to rebuild his career after 3 world title losses in the past 2 years. In the wake of his brutal 7-month TKO loss to Sebastian Fundora last July, right? The Sydney is Sidier. Is that how you say that? The dude from Sydney, right? Sensationally overhauled Team Tszyu. He has since hired a fresh team, including manager Darcy Ellis, mentor Jeff Fennick, and US-based coach Pedro Diaz. But Jennings alleges Tszyu failed to honor contractual agreements with Team Tszyu and his management firm, Fight Life Management, by suddenly cutting ties. When contacted by Code Sports, Tszyu's new agent, Alice, declined to comment on behalf of his client, who is currently in Miami training camp with Diaz for his next fight, slated for March. Tszyu's recent appointment, mentor and advisor, Australian boxing legend Fennick, vowed to support the boxer. Hey, Jeff Fennick has thrown his hat in the mix, bro. And his quote is, if Tim wants to go to court, I will back him 100%. Fennick said, my honest opinion, I hope it does. It doesn't get resolved privately and goes to court, because the truth will come out. All right? So that's a hell of a quote from Jeff Fennick. All right? And he's basically saying, Tim's been getting ripped off. And I hope everyone gets to see it. I hope everyone gets to find out. I don't know, man. Either there's something in that contract that's like totally out of bounds, like it's totally out there. Like either there's something like that can be very damning to Glen Jennings in a contract. That people look at it and be like, damn, bro, like you did that. Like either there's something like that, right? Or something close to that, or something maybe nowhere near that, but just something that Tim Tszyu just didn't like. Maybe he didn't like the percentage that was being charged or whatever the case is. But look, not every manager charges the same. Not every price is the same. If you feel your new manager will do better and he's charging you less, that's cool. But at the end of the day, not every manager charges the same. So from my understanding, Nikita Tszyu has the same deal Tim Tszyu had. And Nikita's happy. From my understanding. Right? So what I can gather is, obviously Tim Tszyu's not happy. Obviously he wanted to move on, and it's fair for him to want to move on. But contracts are contracts, bro. Right? Like contracts are contracts. I have no idea how courts work in Australia. None. Right? But if it's anything like in America, if it's ironclad, then it's ironclad. Like it just is what it is. Like, but I don't know. I mean, unless it's something so unconscionable, like on the contract, that's like, yo, that's like you cannot do that. I don't even care if the dude signed, unless it's something to that degree, which I'm not saying it's not. I haven't looked at the contract. I don't know, right? If there is something like that. And that's why Tim's like, yo, man, either walk away, leave me alone, right? Or we're going to go to court, right? But, like, if that's the case, why would Glen sue like this? What I get? I mean, like, it's an interesting dynamic. And I don't know if they're going to work something out. I don't know if they're going to have it'll be best for everybody. I know Jeff Fennick doesn't want it. I know he wants it to get ugly. He wants it all to come out, but this is not Jeff Fennick's career. This is not his drama. Look, unless there's something very unconscionable in that contract, and then you got to just work it out. To be honest with you, you got to just work it out, and that's how I feel about it. There's more thoughts I have. I really do. I have more thoughts about this, but I want to just leave it at that. I don't want to touch any more on it because it's to be honest with you, I'm already speaking a lot of speculation at this point, and anything else could be even more speculation. And we'll let the facts come out when they come out. Hopefully everything works out and everybody could just go their own separate ways, and we could just leave it at that, to be honest with you. All right. That's it. I'm cool with Glen Jennings, everybody knows, and I'm a huge fan of Tim Tszyu. I just hope this, work it out behind the scenes, and we can all keep it moving. That's it. That's what I'm hoping for. I have a feeling, though, it's going to get ugly, and who knows? There might be some juicy stories that come out of this. Who fucking knows, right? With that said, those are my thoughts on that. But look, Kasia Tszyu's former trainer, I believe, came out and said, yo, I'll back the dude up. Like, this is crazy. All right? It's nuts. But let's talk about y'all's boy, right? The one and the only Arrow the Truth Spence. Now, here's what I could tell you, okay? Why am I sharing my own video? Like, well, what am I doing? That's not what I want to share. Like, what are you doing here? You know what I mean? Like, what is this? Right? Why can't I, here it is. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, so this was reported a couple hours ago. ESPN ringside, former unified welterweight champion Errol Spence Jr. will reportedly end his nearly 3-year hiatus from boxing for a June showdown with former junior middleweight champion Tim Tszyu in Australia. Sources confirmed. Look, will that fight be in Australia? I have no idea. All right. That I don't know, guys. But look, I don't know how to feel about this fight. But before I talk about the fight, let me give a shout out to everybody, by the way. Shout out to Wheelchair Man John, Sonteo Media, Tom in the building, Puerto Rican Rum. All right. How you doing, brother? I hope everything is good on your end. All right. And all that. Chicano Prophet. Hope everything is good on your end. 92 AKU. He believes that he's still good. Will this be on Amazon or the Zone? I don't know, bro. You're asking me like I know. I don't know. I don't know where this is gonna be, bro. But here's what I can tell you guys. A couple of things. One, look, I know for a fact, and this was even with Tim Tszyu's former team. I could say this now, it's whatever, but they've been wanting the Spence fight. Like they wanted the Spence fight before Thurman. Right. And in fact, I think he even said in the interview with him, but they wanted that was supposed to be Spence versus Tszyu. They had it the way they wanted it. Right. They wanted that first Amazon pay-per-view. Thurman was kind of like one of the last options. Right. So it was supposed to be Errol Spence versus Tim Tszyu. Right. In that first Amazon pay-per-view, or at least one of the options. So they've been like Tim Tszyu himself. And all the way to his former team, they wanted, they wanted this fight, and like they've been wanting it. I know this for a fact that they wanted this fight, that Tim wanted this fight. They wanted this fight before even a Crawford fight. They wanted Errol Spence, and there's no doubt that obviously PBC would be aware of that, right? PBC will be involved in this to some capacity, right? They themselves understand that Tim Tszyu wanted Errol Spence. So I feel that this is actually a good fight, given the circumstances. Errol Spence obviously coming off a loss. He's been out for 3 years almost. Tim Tszyu is, yes, coming off a win, but like, that Vasquez kid, like whatever. Right. But, before that, he had 1 win in 4 fights, that he lost in devastating fashion. So Tim's not in a position to be fighting the top dudes right now. He's not going to be fighting, Virgil Ortiz or Boots Ennis. I don't want him to fight somebody like that right now. Tim Tszyu's supposed to be fighting people that are kind of like, well, that dude's either washed up or he's not that good. That's who he's supposed to be fighting right now. But here it's a name. And there is a question. How much does Errol Spence have left? Like we don't know. We don't know a lot about both of them, by the way, but we don't know how much Errol Spence has left. We don't know how Errol Spence is going to react if Tim Tszyu starts landing some straight rights on him. I think he will. I think he'll pierce through the guard at least early. Errol Spence fights with that high guard. I think he will get lit up with. Errol Spence does get hit with right hands, and we just don't know. We're not going to know until the fight happens. But if Errol Spence still has some left, he could spoil the whole comeback party for Tim Tszyu. This could be the start of a redemption story. It could be the end of one. And it's kind of a redemption start of it for one of these guys. And I think it's a fight that makes sense for both of them. Like, I think it's a good fight for both guys. I think it's a crossroads fight. They're both names, but they're in a position where, if Errol Spence was one of the top dudes in a winning streak, I would be criticizing him for it, right? If Tim Tszyu was in a winning streak, let's say he didn't lose those fights and he was a reigning world champion, I would be totally shitting on this fight. But given the circumstances and given where both guys are right now, I think the fight makes even more sense today than it did 2 years ago when they were trying to make that fight happen, right? So to me, they kind of got a page out of the old management with the fight they were trying to make, and they're just kind of doing a continuation of that. And I'm sure that got brought up through the PBC side. If anything, I'm totally guessing, by the way, but I have a feeling that PBC brought it up. Hey, Tim Tszyu, hey, it looks like our guy, Errol Spence wants to make a comeback. The big fish is back. Tim Tszyu just had a big win, or a win, right? A win. He wanted to fight him before, but he's ready to come back now. It's a good crossroads fight. Are you guys interested? I think it was presented to them. I think they presented it to Tim Tszyu, and I think they feel like, you know what? We could do it. And whether Tim Tszyu takes another fight, I think he should before this, I don't know if he will or he won't. But it looks like this is the fight. This is the direction they're going. And I think the winner of this fight will be in position. Where in position, I'm not sure, but they'll be in position to fight maybe some other top 10 guy. They are a name. So Tim's, let's look at every scenario, right? If Errol Spence comes back and he looks like vintage Errol Spence, right? High guard, Tim Tszyu pierces through it a little bit, but he keeps it tight the whole time. Presses Tim Tszyu, crowds him, works the body, counters upstairs, and works behind the jab, and that's the one tool he's going to use against him. That jab, and let's say he just goes out there and just like obliterates and annihilates Tim Tszyu, right? Let's say he does that. Errol Spence, just like that, is in the mix, right? Whether it's a Jermell fight, whether it's a Boots fight, whether it's a Virgil fight in Dallas, which they're already talking about. A fight I didn't like, by the way, but I like it. I like it here because of where they are, right? I don't want Errol Spence to come back and fight an undefeated, possibly the best in the weight class, Virgil Ortiz. But if he comes back against a Tim who's trying to make a comeback himself, I think it makes sense. Now, if Tim Tszyu can put it together and let's say he beats Errol Spence, are people going to say, hey, well, Errol Spence wasn't the same no more? Of course they're going to say that. But it would still be a back-to-back win. It'll be a win over a name. And like they're going to throw Tim in there with somebody. Like they're going to throw him in there with someone, right? So Tim's going to get another opportunity will rise from this, right? Assuming he looks spectacular, right? If both guys have a close fight and it's back and forth and it's split decision or a draw, they could have a rematch, especially if it's a successful event in Australia. So I just think that, in other words, I just think the fight makes sense. It's a good fight for both guys for where they are at the moment, right? So I like this fight. I love this fight for Tim. I love this fight for Errol. I love this fight as a boxing fan. I'm all in here. I love this fight. So there you go. And 92 IQ says loser retires match. Look, here's the cold hard truth. If Tim Tszyu loses to Errol Spence, it probably is time to retire, right? It's like a harsh thing to say. He doesn't have to retire, but he's basically back at domestic level. Like I guess Michael Zarafa fight, I guess. But after what happened with Zarafa, I don't think they're going to do that fight. You know what I mean? So I don't know where Tim goes from here. I don't think Tim, when you've already been tasted a little bit of the mountaintop, right? When you've already been a world champion and you can't win a world title anymore, it's like, well, what do you do now? Like do you go back to what you were fighting when you were in your 10th fight? Is that really what Tim Tszyu wants to do? I'll still be a fan. I'll still support him and some great domestic fights and all that, and great, right? But I don't know if that's what Tim Tszyu wants to do at that point. It's kind of like if you're playing in the major leagues in baseball, right? Or if we use an Australian, not that I know anything about Australian football, but let's say you are in the major leagues, whatever they call the major leagues, the big leagues of Australian football, and then you're cut by your team, and then no team picks you up. Like, I don't know what they call it. They have a minor league. They probably do. I'm assuming it's their biggest sport, right? So do you want to go play for the minor leagues at that point? You can if you want. Like, you know what I mean? If that's cool, but I just don't know that's what he wants to do. So if he can't beat Errol Spence, it's over. At the elite level, it's over. And does Tim Tszyu want to continue if it's no longer at the elite level? And this is, and again, this is like the perfect matchup at the moment. This is not even one of the top guys. So this is a must win for both guys, because I don't think Errol Spence will continue. If Errol Spence can't beat Tim Tszyu, he's done. He ain't going to want to keep fighting. It'll be, so yes, in a way, this is a quote unquote loser leaves town match. Right? This is a real true crossroads fight. They're throwing both guys in a room. Right? They're cracking that pull stick in half with pointy ends and handing one to each guy, and they're closing the door, and only one could come out. That's it. And that's only a stepping stone to the big dogs. So this is a fight that is a total must win for both guys. Right? There could be some exceptions. Like let's say it's a competitive fight. And let's say it goes 12. And people are complaining about or debating who won the fight. Maybe they could run it back, right? If Errol wins, but most people feel like Tim Tszyu won, well, maybe it's not over, right? Maybe there's that saving grace, like, well, Tim Tszyu got robbed, or vice versa. If Tim wins, or people feel that Errol Spence got robbed, maybe that's a saving grace. But aside from those little exceptions, right? Even then, it could be detrimental. But aside from those exceptions, if there's a clear winner, I think the one that loses this match is done, if I'm honest, right? And I could see the winner of this match, by the way, fighting, whether you guys like it or not, if Keith Thurman beats Fundora, I could see the winner of this fight fighting Keith Thurman for that WBC title. So there's a lot at stake for both of these guys. Okay, Adam Kelly, how you doing, brother? If he fights in Australia, you better bring that ass down under. I'm down, bro. I just need I need more notice, bro. Like you know what I mean? But I'm down. I need some super chats, or something like that from Australian friends to save up some money to go to Australia, but it's all good. I'm just joking, by the way. Anthony, how you doing, brother? Glenn, Two-Face to Tszyu in the background was publicly saying the opposite to make yourself look like a top bloke and letting Tim go and saying best just to remember the good times they had together, man. Well, look, I just don't know 100% what's going on. What I do know, what I can tell you guys is this, and I don't know if you missed the part where I said earlier, right? And again, I don't know how it works in Australia, guys, so forgive my ignorance, right? But in the United States, all right, and shout out to Joe Habib, who I first heard this from, right? But if something in a contract is just completely unconscionable, right? Like a judge looks at it and says, "Look, man, this is I don't care if this dude signed this. This is unconscionable. Like this is not this is not something you can enforce, right?" Then that could be a case here. So unless Tim has something like that, and they have something similar in Australia, right? Aside from that, ironclad is ironclad here. Ironclad is ironclad, bro. There's no way around it. Don King and Rockman couldn't get away from an ironclad contract that Lennox Lewis had. Don King couldn't do that, bro. The Supreme Court was like, nah, you got to give this dude a rematch. Period. For those that don't know, it went to the Supreme Court. And a judge saw that. Now, this is different. This is not like a fight contract, but it's a contract between two parties, mutual, right? With Team Tszyu 2 / Fight Life Management and Tszyu, right? But if it's something like Tszyu didn't like the percentage, or Tszyu didn't like some of the decisions, that's just, at least in the U.S. court of law, you ain't getting out of that. Like it just is what it is. You can buy out of the contract, right? But you're not just going to get out of there. So I would imagine, since our court system is heavily influenced from the British court system, although not 100% the same, but it's heavily influenced from it, and because it was a U.S. colony, and Australia, I guess it's still part of the Commonwealth. I don't know what's going on there, but I don't know how much England is still involved, but nonetheless, they come from that kind of same kind of thing. I'm guessing they're going to have something at the very least similar, right? And I'm telling you right now, bro, like, he's going to have to work something out unless there's something very unconscionable there that either makes Lance say, you know what, never mind, whatever, before it goes to court, or a judge looks at it and says, yo, I don't know what the fuck you were doing here. Unless there's something like that there, brother, a judge can tell him to settle, right? But again, I don't know how fucking court works in Australia. I have no idea, right? You Australian dudes could tell me. I don't know, right? And maybe you know, maybe you don't know either. Like, there's plenty of people in the U.S. that don't know shit about U.S. law, so I don't know, right? So that's it. I don't want to sit here and be like, cap and act like I'm the expert in Australian courts and how it's going to go. I have no idea, right? But that's what I think. But I will say this. We'll see what's going to happen. It's going to happen. We'll all stay updated on that. And Adam Kelly says, if you come up, join up with Lyndon and we will show you around. Damn, like old tour and everything, right? You can have one of those speakers too, like, and over there, D-Stall, over there, mate, that's the, I don't know, whatever, the bridge of Sydney, right? And over there, like whatever it is, right? And look, I want to go to Australia. I have friends in Australia, so I would love to go to Australia, to be honest with you, right? So, I know that if Shannon O'Connell, who I believe should win her next fight, but it's boxing, anything could happen. And she gets in a position where she's the mandatory and fights for belts over there, I'm gonna go over there. You know what I mean? So, it's all about, And by the way, Eric Gomez, they already told me they don't drink Foster's beer over there. Okay, like I was told. Australians have never gotten mad at me. Other than when I said they all drink Foster's beer, right? And I was told we don't drink Foster's. Stop, right? And so it is what it is. I ain't gonna play around with that. So I'm just saying, right? Like I feel like when we say they drink Foster's beer, it's like when people think like Mexicans walk around with sombreros all the time. Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like how I feel about it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And look, I feel that way about Corona. Like, I think Corona sucks, bro. Right? Corona is the worst. It doesn't even taste good. And all those dudes out there that want to, oh, yeah, I love Corona. I love Mexican beer. Woo. Look, let me just say this. Corona beer, Corona, tastes like dog shit, bro. Right? You know how we know? They've always known it tastes like shit. Right? That's why they introduced the lime with it, right? They want the lime to kill some of that fucking ugly flavor, right? That's why it was that's why they introduced it with lime, all right? If you want to drink something that's kind of just like Corona, but it tastes a lot better without the funky, Corona has that ugly, funky smell. Look, no one's going to say you hate Mexicans. You don't like Corona. Corona tastes like shit. Okay. But if you drink Corona and for whatever reason you think you like it, but you smell that funky smell, it has that ugly aftertaste. It does. Okay. I don't want to hear it, but with that said, drink Sol. Sol is way better than Corona, right? It has the initial taste of Corona without the ugly aftertaste and that ugly skunk smell, okay? And it tastes really good with lime too. If for whatever reason you like that little lime twist on it, it's perfect. Also, my favorite beer, Dos Equis, all right? I think Dos Equis is light years ahead of fucking Corona, right? And it's not because of the commercial. I've been drinking Dos Equis for years, okay? There's other beers. Just Pacifico is better. Indio, if you like dark beer, is better. There's just plenty of Mexican beers, bro. Right? But Carta Blanca and Corona suck, right? Dista, you can't. It fucking sucks, okay? I'm sorry. We got dudes that want to be cool with Mexicans drinking Corona, acting like they like it, right? When deep down, I know you don't like it, right? But yeah, look, Sol. If you like Corona, you'll like Sol better. I promise you that. I promise you. I 100%, right? I know Lyndon owns a pub bar over there. If he serves Corona, look, I don't know if he serves Sol or not, but you got to order some Sol, import some Sol in, right? Bring some in, right? And offer it to your customers. They're gonna love it. I promise you. Tecate, it's a little but it's better than Corona, right? I actually like Tecate Light better, right? Now people, Tecate Light, but my thing is this, right? Don't tell the LT, he's gonna get mad because I drink Tecate Light, but right, I just think it tastes better than actual Tecate. I'll drink a Tecate, but a lot of people just drink Tecate because it was a sponsor for a boxing fight. That's it. That's the only reason you guys fucking drink it, okay? And for a while, it was cheap as fuck. It used to be the cheap beer, right? But yeah. But that's all I got to say, all right? Lyndon does not, I doubt, what type, let me tell you something. This show is sponsored by Boxing Deep Dive, okay? He doesn't know it's sponsored by Boxing Deep Dive, but this show is sponsored by it. This right here, right? You are tarnishing the name of Lyndon, brother. All right? I will not stand here, right, and allow you to smear the name of Lyndon by saying he serves Foster's, right? I'm not going to allow it, all right? What's 92's question? What 92 AQ asking? What happened to G Funky? Well, G Funky Boxing. He's here on YouTube. Just go type G Funky Boxing on the search, and you'll find him. You know what I mean? G Funky's doing his thing. I actually talked to him earlier today, right? So he's doing his thing, right? Roundtable, and the one white guy with a hat. Bro, you know how many white dudes with hats I've talked to in the history of this channel? Boxing content has declined. Am I here sounding the alarm? Sound the alarm, baby. You know what I mean? But hey, it is what it is. I don't know who the white guy with a hat is. Who's the white guy with a hat? All right. My issue is about the contract. The law is the law. My issue is that my issue is not about the contract. The law is the law. My issue is that Glenn said multiple times that it's best to just let him go and cherish the achievements yet as a team. Look, that's a fair criticism I get. That's what was said out in the media. That's what he said. He said what he said. I'm sure he'll accept I'm not in Glenn's head, but I'm sure he'll accept the criticism, but that's all I got. You know what I mean? I don't know. Who knew Foster Beer was such blasphemy to the Aussies? I don't know. I just remember watching all the commercials. Foster's Beer. I just remember that. You know what I mean? I've never bought one, but I always see it at the stores, and it's like a big ass can. You know what I mean? Hispanic causing panic. Panelist, white guy with a hat. Are you talking about Calix? Is Calix the white guy with a hat? Is that what you're talking about? And look, guys, I just got on this truth. I don't like talking about people's personal shit on a boxing show, right? I was going to say this one time. I've said it a million times, okay? Like me and Calix are cool, bro. Like there's literally nothing wrong with me and Calix, right? Calix is just enjoying time with his kids. He's coaching his kids. He's not even watching boxing right now. He's doing his thing. I ain't gonna hate on a dude for doing that. It is what it is, right? I'm in contact with him. He'll be back when he's back. Like, I don't know what else to tell you guys, right? Calix Boxing on Twitter, hit him up. You know what I mean? There's literally nothing going on, right? As far as the roundtable, I haven't done the roundtable it's going to be, how long has it been? It was a year in October, and we're in February now. So it's like a year and a third of a year that I have not done the roundtable. Here's the God honest truth about the roundtable, guys. The roundtable is a lot of work, all right? A lot of work. It's not easy at all setting up a panel of 5, 6, 7 people week after week, right? I could handle, even though it's a lot of work hosting it, I can handle that, right? But I've just been too busy to be locking in gas, hitting people up. I start to feel like I'm bothering people, even though people are nice and they say not this week, maybe next time. But it starts getting tiring, to be honest with you, right? And the standard that I had for the roundtable, like everybody needs to be on camera, good audio, and that's why people love the show. But getting people on here, like I did that shit for like 4 or 5 years. I wanted to take a break, and while I miss the actual show, right, I don't miss the process of the show. I just don't. And given the work it takes to do it, I didn't feel like I was getting a payoff from it, right? If you catch my drift, right? And then I don't know. I don't even know what that joke's about, bro. I don't know who the skinhead is. I don't even know if that's a joke that didn't land well. I have no idea, right? But I don't know what you're talking about. Like I don't. I hope you're not talking about a former host of mine or something like that. Like maybe I didn't get it, but the political show. Look, I talked a little bit of politics yesterday. I'll talk politics here and there. The problem with political shows, guys, is that platforms like YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, they hate. They don't like people talking politics. Okay, and I am being honest here. Like, they will shadow ban you. Like they do impact you in that way, right? And this is the God honest truth. They don't care if you're right wing, left wing. They do not like people talking politics. All politics does is divide people, right? This is why workplaces tell people, don't talk about politics, don't talk about religion, and don't talk about your pay. Like every workplace I ever been to, like they make that shit clear from orientation, brother. Like they make that very clear. Do not talk politics, do not talk pay, do not talk religion. Why? People, all you're going to do is piss somebody off. All you're going to do is somebody's going to think you're the worst person. You could have a dude that you get along with. You're like, you know, You work together at work. You're great comrades. The moment you start talking politics, oh my God, I seen people like want a fist fight. I seen people say, oh, that guy's, I didn't know you were a piece of shit. Like I seen all types of stuff happen, right? And what happens? Somebody gets let go, or they get separated from departments, like, and they're told by HR, we told you not to talk about that shit, right? And then of course, religion. I don't think it's as bad with religion, but it can be, right? Bro, like the amount of los católicos no son cristianos and los cristianos no son católicos, like the amount of shit about Catholics versus Christians and bro, like the amount of debates I seen at workplaces about that, I like dude, it never ends well. Like you know what I mean? Or people saying, I don't want to hear about your damn religion, or I don't want to hear about God could save me. And like all, like people just don't like it. Right. And finally, pay. All right. Pay. You never want to bring up pay at the workplace. Ever. Right. You're either going to piss somebody off, or you're going to piss yourself. All right. Like no one's going to be happy. Right. You're going to end up trying to work like never, ever talk about pay. The moment, like never talk about it. Ever. You could be happy as shit with your salary, and then you hear that Bob, right, makes more than you, and you're going to get, especially you work harder than him, you're going to get fucking pissed. Right? Or you make more and they find out, right, and they feel they do more than you, they're going to get pissed. Right? Or I work just as hard as he did. Why is he making fucking $400 more a month than me? What the fuck's going on? Like you never want to do it. You never talk about those things ever, no matter what. Right? You never do it. Right? If JC found out somebody makes more, you know he's gonna knuckle up. Like that is what it is. I'm just saying. Well, Pedro makes more than me. What the fucking Pedro? Like, you know what I mean? He's going to get pissed. Right? What do you mean Amanda makes more than me? What are we talking about? Like, he's going to, like, I'm just saying, don't do it. You don't do it. No matter what, you don't do it. Right? No matter what. Another thing you never do, I'm going to tell you guys right now. Lance Mayer, how you doing, brother? Never text talking shit about your boss, your workers, work colleagues. Never talk shit about the company. Never express that you're looking forward to getting hired, like you're looking for another job. Never in writing, never in text, especially not in your work email. Like I've seen people do that shit. Never, ever do that. Ever. Never. That will backfire on your ass like so bad. I'm just letting you know. Some workplace can let you go if they know you're actively looking for another job, by the way. And if they have that proof, they will use it against you. Never, ever, ever, ever do it. Never. All right? Plus, I've seen this happen too. Like people that talk shit about their workplace or their coworkers. Eventually, one of those coworkers of yours gets promoted. And they remember all that. And a lot of those dudes change, bro. Right? I've been promoted before. And God honest truth, I never changed on people. And I didn't think I was better than everybody all of a sudden because I got promoted. But there are people like that though. Right? Like there are people that are like that. And it is what it is. But anyway, that's all the advice I got for you today. I mean, I'm not gonna do this shit for free. All right? Like I'm just saying, but shout out to all my Australian friends out there watching, all my American friends, of course. Okay, 92 accused D-Style, thank you, and I appreciate you for the work you put in. All right, well, thanks. I appreciate it. We're calling Dana White a skinhead? Is that a bit much? But anyway, we'll leave it at that. That's all I got. If you just came in, go to the beginning, tune in, hit the like button for me. I'll be live tomorrow, and I know I said I was talking about the Mannix Mauricio thing, but I'll talk about it tomorrow, guys. I am out of here. Peace.